Today I will be analyzing two films from the coming-of-age genre, Juno and Mustang. I will be comparing and contrasting them based on several film elements and relating it back to the cultural context in which they were made. Coming-of-age films are an extremely popular genre in which the main character is usually an adolescent who feels out of place in themselves or in their society/school. The film progresses as our protagonist finds their place, basically following the journey of a younger person as they come of age. This is no different in our two movies, Juno and Mustang. Juno takes place in a very American high school surrounded by Western culture. This means that she has the freedom of speech and the freedom to date whoever she wants. Western culture empowers women and allows them to make the most of their decisions. This is extremely different from the movie Mustang. Mustang takes place in Turkey, surrounded by an extremely conservative culture. Turkish culture is Islamic and thinks that women should be married off. People don't get to choose who they marry or love. It's decided by their parents. The movie's director, Deniz Gamze Erguyen, was obviously cynical of this culture and portrayed it in a negative light. This is obvious from the overall theme. The two films differ in the representations of their culture, but the way they represent the main character remains extremely similar. Both main characters, Juno and Lale, are social outcasts. In other terms, they're non-mainstream and non-conformist when it comes to their cultures and societies. In the film Juno, Juno is seen as someone who rejects American cultural norms. She is seen smoking a pipe, she moves all of her basement furniture to Bleeker's front lawn, and she listens to and plays alternative music, which is seen as very non-mainstream. For example, in the scene where Juno first meets Mark and Vanessa, she discovers that Mark plays alternative music as well. When Vanessa discovers that the two were bonding over it, she seems very disappointed and embarrassed, highlighting how it is seen by Western culture. Lale, the protagonist of Mustang, is also seen as someone who goes against her cultural norms. For one, she swears at adults. This is seen in the scene where she yells at the older woman for tattling on her and her sisters. She obviously disrespects authority. This is also seen in the way her and all of her sisters interact with boys. In the scene on the beach, all of them are getting on the boys' shoulders and are playing in the water when they're wet, very much against the conservative Turkish culture. The fact that they are social outcasts is a major similarity in the films. Both protagonists are extremely out of place in their respective cultures. The context makes the films differ though, as Juno is an outcast because of her strange interests and quirky personality, but Lale is an outcast because of her outspokenness and toughness, two attributes that women in Western culture are encouraged to have. Both of our main characters reject their culture, but also subconsciously adhere to it as well. Both show that they follow conventional beauty standards of women based on two interesting costume changes. For example, when Juno is getting ready to go to Mark's house, it is implied that she is developing a crush on him because she wore a skirt, which is extremely out of her character, and also by the fact that she applies red lipstick before heading over. Lale, on the other hand, puts on red high-heeled shoes before leaving to drive with Yasin, also implying that she is developing a crush. Both instances show how the girls conform to their culture's beauty standards when it comes to being attractive to someone. Juno puts on lipstick and Lale puts on heels. Both are stereotypes of beautiful women. This goes to show that both girls follow the cultural beauty standards even though they don't align with the mainstream culture. The main difference of the films is the endings and in the themes. In the end of Juno, Juno decides to give her baby up to Vanessa. This is the final act that pushes Juno into the social norm. Throughout the movie, for example, the sonogram scene, Juno is told that she shouldn't raise or shouldn't even have the baby. In our culture, a teenager raising a baby is seen as strange and is frowned upon. Juno accepting this and giving up her baby to Vanessa is her finally giving in to being a part of her own culture. This is even seen as a good ending, as both Juno and Vanessa are seen living a happy life. Juno had finally found her place in society. The theme is that following cultural norms doesn't have to be a bad thing. In Mustang, however, Lale runs away in the end. Her and her sister Nerve are finally able to get away from the oppressive culture of their uncle. Her sister even narrowly escapes being married off. They run away with the help of Yasin to Istanbul, where they meet up with their former teacher and hopefully live a better life. Lale found her place outside of her culture. The theme of Mustang wasn't to stay like Juno's, but just the opposite, to leave if you feel like you're being oppressed in your own culture. And that's just what Lale did. She escaped. This is most likely because the director had cynical feelings toward the Turkish culture, showing how it was better to run away. Both characters found their place in the end. Juno's was deep inside the culture she once tried to reject, but Lale's was as far away from it as possible.